Yeah, and I love what you point out is that if we don't understand what we are uniquely able to bring, we can't be the best leader, best person that we can be. So we need to understand ourselves more. By the way, this comes back to blind spots. The things that we do the best are so natural for us that we don't even recognize them as strengths oftentimes. And it's not until we've created the kind of relationships with people around us where they feel like it's safe for them to say, you know what I love about you? It's when you do this. This is the greatest strength you bring.
It takes something a little more to lead with impact. I'm Lisa Nichols, author of Something Extra, and this podcast was inspired by our daughter Allie, whose additional chromosome has shaped how I see people in leadership. Each episode features conversations with inspiring leaders from around the world about what truly defines how they lead and serve others. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please consider leaving a 5-star review. It helps more people discover the show. And if you'd like to go deeper, my book, Something Extra, is available on Amazon and through other major book retailers. Today, we welcome Jim Brown, author and co-founder of OrgHealth. Jim is a veteran leadership consultant who spent 15 years partnering with Patrick Lencioni to redefine corporate culture and team dynamics. He is the author of the bestseller, The Imperfect Board Member, and his recently released book, The Imperfect CEO, draws on 30 years of in-the-trenches experience to show executives how to build healthy, high-performing cultures by embracing their own human limitations. Welcome to the podcast, Jim Brown. It's so
Thank
good
you.
to see you today.
So good to be with you, Lisa. I'm excited for the conversation we're going to have. I just feel there's so much that we are aligned with, and it's going to be energizing for us to talk and share about that.
Oh, I completely agree. And I just have to give a shout out. Canada. Oh, Canada. You're sitting in Canada. I'm sitting in St. Louis, Missouri. I love technology.
And let's just declare we are happy to be partnering with our friends in the U.S. There's so much that we can do better together.
Oh, there is no doubt about that. Well, I am, like you said, I'm so excited. I told you before we started, I said, I don't know, Jim, I've got so much I want to talk to you about. I don't know how we're going to get it all in, but we're going to try. And, my hope is that, you've got a book that just came out called
So
The
excited about
Imperfect
this.
CEO. Yes, and it is so good. I had a pre-read of that, which I'm really grateful for, but there's just so much wisdom in there. And so my hope is that our listeners will want to go deeper, get the book, follow you. You're a speaker, you're an organizational health coach, all these kind of things. So that's really my hope, because there's just no way we can capture you in one podcast, Jim. So, but let's just get into it. I mean, you have spent 30 plus years in boardrooms and with
Right.
CEOs. I mean, you've been many times a board member, chair
Yes.
of boards. I think you worked for Patrick Lencioni or with him in the table group for 13 years?
I think it
or
was 15
so?
years that I was a
15
consulting
years.
partner, and we remain good friends. I was interacting with him just recently. Yeah.
Yeah, such a good guy. He was episode 300 of the Something
Oh,
Extra
fun.
podcast. Yeah, so love all of Patrick's work. But now you're the founding partner for Organizational Health, with
And we just go by the short form, OrgHealth.
OrgHealth.
We kind of
OrgHealth.
made up a name, OrgHealth.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
OrgHealth, right. But let me ask you this. So what drew you first to this work of working with
Yeah.
CEOs and organizations and
It's kind of a crazy story, Lisa. When I was 19 years old, I had a job in a factory. And I had arrived as a farm kid that was used to getting up early in the morning and working because that's normal life. And I went to the factory and punched the clock. I'm bushy-tailed and bright-eyed and good morning to everybody. But nobody is nearly like that. Like I'm getting some foul looks and
nobody was as enthusiastic as you
no,
were, Jim?
no. And what I discovered and I started to read about was most people in our countries actually hate their job. And the idea that people spend the majority of their waking lives doing something that they don't enjoy seems like a tragedy to me. And it's even more so the case, Lisa, because I've since discovered that when leaders create the right culture, a healthy culture, people can enjoy their job. They can look forward to getting to work. They feel appreciated. They feel like their contribution is meaningful and important. And then they go home and they feel better about their life. And that makes things better at home. So
Absolutely.
this was a discomfort from before I was 20, noticing too many people don't like their lives. But it turns out that if leaders took responsibility for creating the right context and space, that can all be transformed.
Right. And I know that that's what you're doing. That's what you're helping leaders and CEOs with. You talk about, Jim, you talk about imperfect leadership. Let's just talk about the leaders.
Yeah.
What is this myth that we have that as a leader, you have to be perfect? You have to know it all. And I've got a lot more questions around that.
Sure. Well, I think there's a lot of pressure and scripting in our society that leaders are supposed to be the all-knowing types. And frankly, Lisa, it's even worse in our Christian world because we look to Jesus as our example and we've heard Jesus is perfect. But we need to recognize that Jesus never called us to be perfect. He called us to be authentic. He called us to be obedient. He called us to recognize God as the perfect Father and Jesus as the perfect Savior. We are imperfect. And He's okay with that, actually. He is working in us to continue to refine us. But the problem is too many people in leadership roles, especially Christians, feel like they're supposed to show up like they know all the answers. They have total confidence. Don't worry, I've got you. I've got this taken care of. And it's just an unrealistic and unreasonable weight to put on ourselves.
Yeah. You said the operative word. It's a weight. It's a
Yes.
heaviness to feel that way, right?
Yeah.
Well, and I think, since you brought up, Jesus, I'm thinking about the verse. The verse immediately popped into my head, Jim, that says his strength is perfect in our weakness,
Yes.
not in our strength,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so, yeah, it's we are not called to be perfect, but I love what you said. We're called to be obedient. We're called to be faithful. We're called to
Yes.
recognize that He is the perfect one, and we
Yes.
need His help, right? So,
Indeed.
yeah, what, and I want to talk about this. I mean, your book that just came out, it's a phenomenal book, The Imperfect CEO. I love it, but it's a fable, and it follows a CEO, David Slater. And I love this because he gets really vulnerable
Yeah.
at some point, Jim.
And this is the critical leadership opportunity for everyone that's listening. Again, we have this old mindset that we're supposed to show up strong and able and confident. And people think that vulnerability betrays weakness and shortfalls. But what we're discovering, and people like Brene Brown, who has written so many great books
Right.
and done some great TED Talks, are helping us to recognize, actually, it takes a lot of strength to be vulnerable.
Yes.
And by being more comfortable with ourselves and our imperfection, we invite everyone around us to recognize that they can be safe and comfortable with their imperfection, because we are all imperfect.
Right.
And now we start to actually work together. Lisa, I have this picture in my mind that I believe is very biblical. We can think about Romans 8, for example. everyone has God-given strengths, but we all also have weaknesses.
Yes.
And if I would submit my weaknesses to my team and allow them, invite them to bring their strengths to cover my weaknesses, now we have the best of all. And it totally changes what's possible. I believe this is actually God's design, that we need each other. We're not supposed to be an island unto ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So if I can be vulnerable, then I am creating space for people around me to be vulnerable, to bring their good questions, and I'm going to receive those as reasonable options to consider, as opposed to being the one that feels like every good answer needs to come from me. No, I'm the leader. I'm just responsible to try to make space for the best answers to come to light and for the hardest questions to get asked so that we can get the biggest problems solved.
Yeah. Oh, I love the way you just said that you're supposed to make the space for the best answers to come to light.
Yes.
Not
Yeah.
to have the best answers,
Right.
but
And if we've done a good job of attracting great people to our company, we better have a bunch of people that know more than we do. That's the whole point.
yes. Yeah, I so agree with that. Well, I do think like you said though, vulnerability has been seen as a weakness, right? In the past. It really has, but it takes, like you said, strength, it takes courage,
Yeah.
it takes humility.
Right.
Jim, in my book, Something Extra, humility is my very first chapter.
It's critical. What a critical starting place. And again, what a Christ-like starting place.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so good. Well, let me ask you this. Have you seen, like, maybe, I mean, I know you've got 30 plus years of working with CEOs and organizations. Do you remember a story? I mean, you don't have to obviously say the leader's name, but do you remember a story where a leader did get very vulnerable and it changed everything?
Yeah. A lot of them actually. So here's one. Uh, I remember a woman in the role of CEO, and she had come in after kind of a messy thing happened in this larger company. So in some ways, she felt the pressure that she needed to turn things around. But rather than showing up as the boy, I'm the smart person, you should be glad that I'm here, she humbly began by saying, I am so grateful to have the opportunity to work with all of you. You are the experts on this company. You've lived here and worked here. And I'm going to be leaning on you to help me learn about our greatest strengths, understand the challenges that we face, and together solve the problems so that we can be great again. And this was so disarming to people because, in some people you could see them in that first meeting with their arms folded. It's like, yeah, show me like you're going to really be able to make the difference here. But she didn't come with that mindset. She came with a humility mindset. And quickly, people started to engage with her, dare to believe that she was being truthful about how she was showing up, and meet her there, which quickly created some momentum, not with everyone, but with some people. But that becomes infectious. I'm sure you've seen this, Lisa, where
Yes.
when some relationships start to work and people realize, oh, actually, she is listening to Frank and his ideas, and they know Frank, and they know that Frank has good ideas. They probably also know that Frank has kept a lot of ideas to himself in the past.
Right.
But now they're seeing some credit go to Frank because she is not needing to claim the credit. She's generous in giving credit.
Okay. I wasn't planning on going here, but you just brought up something else for me. Why? Because you do see that sometimes, right? Where people take the credit,
Yeah.
leaders take the credit for other people's work, right? And the best leaders I've seen, Jim, are like, no, this is the team. The team is the one. What is it inside the leader? I've got my own ideas, but I want to hear from you. Why do we believe sometimes that leaders feel like they need to have the credit? And what you just said is she did not need that. She
Right.
did not need that to validate herself, right?
I don't pretend to see myself as an armchair psychologist. I simply acknowledge that when people need the credit,
Mm-hmm.
it betrays an insecurity that there is inside them.
Right.
Whereas the woman that I was using as the example in this story, she had enough self-worth that that wasn't the credit that she needed. The credit she needed was that she was investing wholeheartedly in her people so that they could be the best they could be, which would make the company the best it could be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so good. That is so good. We've kind of already talked about this, but this archetype of hero
Yes, yes,
versus being authentic. You know, why? What does that kind of pressure actually do to the culture when the leader is like, I need to be the archetype of a hero
yes.
rather than authentic and
Unwittingly, and again, I've worked with leaders that have had this whatever, this self image, the pressure on themselves that they need to have all the answers. So I've been in rooms where a question would get asked and everyone turns their head to the leader.
yes,
And
yes,
they recognize everyone's waiting for them to speak, so they share an answer. Uh, I debriefed with a client after that first meeting, and that's how I like to begin my work: is sit in a leadership meeting and see what happens.
mm-hmm.
So after this meeting was over, I talked with her and I said, "Did you notice what was happening whenever a question came up?" "Oh yeah, people kind of look to me. I have the answers." And I said, "Right. And what does that do to the team and the company?" "Well, I mean, somebody's got to have the answers, so I, you know, I guess I'm that person." I said, "Well, what if there are some other answers? What if you don't have the very, very best answer? Do you recognize that unintentionally you are telling everyone to hold their answers back and just wait until you speak?
Mm-hmm.
And by that, you become the bottleneck of the organization. It can never be better than you are.
Mm-hmm.
But what if they felt like you were interested in their answers? And the best answer was the answer that would get everyone's energy, not your answer."
Mm-hmm.
So my coaching, Lisa, was the next time a question gets asked, I would like you to respond by saying, "Oh, that's an important question. What do you think we should do?" And refuse to give
Yes.
your answer until somebody else brings something forward and build on that. And it took months, actually, for change to happen in that setting, but eventually it did. And people started to bring their thoughts, and
Yeah.
it's so much better. See, it turns out that real leadership begins when we stop pretending. We stop pretending we're the all-knowing person with all of the answers. We surrender to the wisdom of the team. And again, I'm going to use my faith perspective. I'm going to dare to believe that God brought people around me to be on my team. If that's the case, I want to make all the room that there is for them to bring their greatest strengths to it, rather than think I'm the person that
That's
has all of it.
Yeah, that's so good, Jim. I was just thinking as you were saying that if you are doing that, if the team is looking to you, two things. One is the team is going to turn their brain off.
Yes. They stop thinking of an
They're
answer
going to
because they
start
know that,
thinking. They're going to
yeah,
stop thinking. They're going to stop being creative. They're going to stop being innovative. And
right.
that's not what you want, right?
It's
That's not what you
it's the
want.
last thing you want.
That's the last thing
And
you want.
every leader that I've worked with wants their innovative ideas.
Of
They
course.
just aren't noticing, they aren't recognizing that unintentionally they are preventing that from
Yes.
happening.
Yes. I don't know if you know my friend Bob Teedy. Do you know
No,
Bob Teedy?
no.
He wrote the book Leading with Questions.
Oh, that's a great title.
It's a
Uh,
great title and is such a great book. But, to your point, if that is happening, really just a very, the next thing you can do, like you said, is to turn it around and say, what do you think?
yeah,
And then Bob says you just keep drilling down, keep drilling down. Well, what else?
yeah,
Is
yeah.
there something else? What next? I mean, just keep
Hmm.
asking the questions. So, I love that. That is so good. Um, what about this, Jim? You've said that organizational health is both moral and strategic. What do you mean by that?
So, of course, let's start with strategic. If we have people working together and bringing their best ideas, their best energy, then we have just released or amplified all of the potential in the company. It is a remarkably strategic thing for a
Mm-hmm.
leader to do. But let's come back to moral. Leadership is about people, not stuff, not dollars. Of course, those things are all part of the picture, but leadership is about people. And if we have been charged with, privileged with a leadership role, we need to accept responsibility for people. And I know that what God wants us to do is see in people what God sees in them and bring out the best that they have. Um, yes, I just think of so many conversations I've had with people. In fact, just last weekend, I had a incredibly energizing visit with Stephen M.R. Covey,
I
who wrote
love him.
The
Mhm.
Speed of Trust, and his latest book is Trust and Inspire. And he beautifully talks about the leader's role is to inspire people to be all in, to bring the best ideas, bring their best version of themselves and be that person. And it usually requires that we as leaders see it in them even before they see it in themselves. That is a moral
Obligation.
responsibility. Yes,
The
obligation.
responsibility. Yeah, that is so good. Well, let me ask you this. Maybe there's a leader out there, and how can they tell if their organization is unhealthy? How can they tell? What are some of the telltale signs,
Yeah.
Jim, that they should look for?
Well, so this connects to the model that is presented in the book, The Imperfect
Yes.
CEO. We call it the OrgHealth ascent model. That there are 4 peaks that every organization has to climb in order to create a healthy organization. And the peaks are, first, collaborative culture. We have to begin by building that place where people can bring their best ideas, their best questions, and work together rather than competing with each other. And oh my goodness, the competition that happens in most organizations is alarming. Collaborative culture brings us to leadership accountability. And here, I'm not talking about leaders holding everyone accountable. Yes, they do need to do that. But the more important piece is that leaders are holding themselves accountable.
Mm.
They are ensuring that everything they're asking of the people in the company, they are exemplifying themselves. So take collaborative culture. Are they working together or are they in contest with each other? Is this division collaborating with the next division or trying to look like they're better than the other division?
Hmm.
And a story I share from some client work I did many years ago is a company where they were on the verge of being shut down by their global head office because costs were higher than anywhere else in the world. And they began to really work together to the point that leaders would offer up people in their department to go and help where the need was greatest that week.
Wow.
And people would just be moving. And then they started voluntarily giving some of their budget to where the need was the greatest. And within a year, Lisa, this is so exciting to be a part of this. They went from being the highest cost manufacturer in their global operations to the lowest cost manufacturer.
Wow.
That is the potential that's available. But it requires that the division leaders, the top level leaders, truly collaborate, truly see that we are one working for the best of all, as opposed to I'm going to prove that I'm the rising star in this company. I'm going to be accountable to demonstrate the behaviors,
a collaborative nature,
exactly,
and the behaviors that you want your people to exhibit, right? What are the other two?
So then it's strategic momentum, where we have a very clear strategic plan and we are getting progressive success in accomplishing that. And then finally, the cap, the crowning glory, is what we call talent magnetism. This is when the culture is so healthy, when people like their work so much, they're telling everyone else about how great it is to work here.
Yes.
And people are lining up for the opportunity. We work with some companies, Lisa, that are spending millions of dollars a year to attract and secure new people to work with them.
Yes.
It's a huge, difficult challenge that they work with. But it can be totally reversed to where your energy is trying to decide who not to hire, because there's so many people eagerly waiting to join what you're doing.
Right. Well, and Jim, if your current people are so engaged and they love it so much, what are they going to do? Like you said, they're going to go tell their friends. And then your recruiting and your talent magnetism cost goes down, right?
Yes.
Because you got your internal people building the team that they want.
They are the ambassadors.
Yes.
And they usually know the
so
people, they tell their friends, but they're also conscious that, oh, I've got some friends that shouldn't work here. No, they're not going to fit.
Right.
And they don't try to get them to come.
That's right.
So in a sense, they're not just the magnets, they're also helping be the filters, so that you're only talking to the people that are most applicable, most relevant for your company.
That is so good, Jim. Oh my goodness, I'm enjoying this so much, but we do need to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with my friend Jim Brown on the Something Extra podcast.
In business, the tendency is to seek out partners who are bigger, faster, stronger. When it comes to IT, you should be looking for smarter, faster, better. That's just what you'll find with the talented technologists at Technology Partners. Our experts develop custom solutions to tackle your most complex challenges, all to simplify your processes in the smartest, most efficient way possible. The time to be swift and nimble starts now. Go to technologypartners.net/solutions and see what's possible.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Something Extra podcast with Jim Brown. Boy, have we just been getting some gold from Jim today. Thank you so much, Jim. There's so much more here that I want to dig into, but, I know that you're known. They say that you're known for helping leaders see what they cannot see. And you had already mentioned this, that, we all have blind spots. We need to work from our strength zones, but we all have blind spots. Whether you believe you do or not, you do. But
we're blind to them. That's the problem.
We're blind to them. That's the problem. Is there a common blind spot that you see in high performing leaders?
I think there are a lot of leaders that would admit that sometimes they feel like the last person to know what's happening in a company. And the blind spot attached to that is that they are telling people not to tell them what's happening. They get some bad news, and rather than being grateful for that insight, they punish the messenger. So why would that person want to deliver that bad news next time? They don't. They talk about it off to the side where somebody's listening, but usually those are the people that can't do anything about it. What a mess that we are in if we are unintentionally telling people, don't tell us what's really happening, and then we wonder why we don't know what's going on.
Well, Jim, I love that. And it reminds me, when you were saying that, it reminds me of when I was at McDonnell Douglas, my boss's boss. This is a mantra of his, maxim, I think, and it's his. I've never heard this before, but he said, come to me early and you have a coach. Come to me late and you have a judge.
Wow. I love it.
His name was Don Imholt. He ended up being the CIO for Boeing, but he really did. He said, I want to hear it all. And he lived that too, Jim. He did, because then after he retired from Boeing, he went on to be the CIO of another large company, and we were a partner. And I remember Don just calling me one day and said, Lisa, I need you to tell me the good, bad, and the ugly. And it wasn't to punish,
right,
but it was to understand so that he could help with a solution earlier, So I love that. And so I think.
So that reminds me of an important piece, and that is that clarity is crucial. And it turns out that confusion is actually a threat to culture. Two that I would highlight: confusion and avoidance. These are the biggest threats. And what we find too often is that we don't get clarity. We have incomplete information. People nod like, yeah, that's true, but nod doesn't mean it's the whole story. It means that's all they feel safe to say right now. Mm-hmm. So then it turns out that we're confused about what's happening and we're avoiding dealing with the real problems. Mm-hmm. Leaders have to get past that. They have to figure out, how do we minimize confusion, therefore maximize clarity, and how do we have the courage to have the hard conversations? Because, Lisa, I believe hard conversations are the entrance fee to a healthy leadership arrangement.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's so good. Well, let's talk just a little bit. I've got, goodness gracious, I've got so many questions here, even about your book. I really want our listeners to go out and get your book. It is a fable. It follows David Slater. He has a strong track record of success, begins struggling with the culture. And I'm going to highlight this again because you say in there the moment that he said, I don't know how to fix this, was the moment that transformation really started to happen.
That's the turning point. That's where we're inviting other people to help solve problems, rather than need to be the hero or unconsciously be the hero. I'm not saying people are always aiming to be the hero. They just unwittingly are operating as if that's the way it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, how, what would you say? Because I do believe self-awareness. I talk about self-awareness in my book. That's kind of the beginning of my book is it starts on the inside. It starts with the leader.
Yeah, and I love what you point out is that if we don't understand what we are uniquely able to bring, we can't be the best leader, best person that we can be. Mm-hmm. So we need to understand ourselves more. By the way, this comes back to blind spots. The things that we do the best are so natural for us that we don't even recognize them as strengths oftentimes. And it's not until we've created the kind of relationships with people around us where they feel like it's safe for them to say, you know what I love about you? It's when you do this. This is the greatest strength you bring. And they're not feeling like they're making themselves look smaller when they're making us feel better about who we are. Because they know we're not going to make them look small by being better in that one way. No, I have a strength. Thank you, God, for that strength.
Yes.
And you have strengths, and I'm thankful that you're part of the team. we're all going to work together.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. It's a tapestry.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
it really is if you think about it that way. You mentioned Stephen M. R. Covey, and I love leadership. It's the speed of trust.
Yes.
I
Yes.
do believe trust is the currency that we need.
Yeah.
But what are the things that you've seen, Jim, that diminish trust? And then what are those key things that really build trust
Yeah.
in the team?
Well, an angle that Stephen really does a great job of helping us with is talking about trust from both sides. So on one hand, we should all be trustworthy. So we need to follow through on the things that we say we're going to do. We need to demonstrate character, that we can be trusted because we will be consistent in how we show up. I think we've overemphasized trustworthiness. Of course, it's important. But what Stephen really gets at is trusting, as in learning to trust people as an act of leadership. So in our leadership team, are we going to trust that people are bringing their ideas because they have thought them through, and they do believe that these are ideas worthy of us to explore? Rather than questioning that, and there's something about our Western culture, Lisa, that has promoted that we start by questioning everything. And Stephen says, turn that around and start by daring to believe in the person and believe that they're going to be bringing their best and doing their best. Yes, we are going to continue to work with them, and if they demonstrate they aren't, then we have to help them rise to the best they can be. But unintentionally, by questioning that and essentially not trusting them to start, then unconsciously they don't trust us, even though we're trustworthy. But because we're not being trusting, they're not trusting in response. So trust is a curious dynamic that is almost fluid. And yes, if we would embrace, of course, we're going to be trustworthy, but as leaders, can we be at the front of the line in demonstrating that we are trusting in the people that are around us, trusting God that He has brought the right people to us, that He's giving us the opportunities that we need. So, yes,
That's so good.
I pray we can be trusting.
I pray we can too. And we could probably do a whole podcast on this, Jim, because, right now, I've got 3 adult children, and this applies to parenting.
Oh, yeah.
It really does. Because if you're questioning every decision, your adult child does not believe that you believe then that they can make good decisions. And it really applies. It's like you said, it's a curious thing. We could probably do a whole podcast on that, trusting other people. Now, people are going to make mistakes.
Yep.
We all are, right?
Yep.
So just go into it with eyes wide open. People are going to make mistakes, but when you let's talk about that. So psychological safety, like even innovation, we talk about that with technology. You've got to create an atmosphere where people are not afraid to fail,
right,
and not afraid to experiment, right?
Yes.
Because there is no innovation. You're not going to get it right every time.
Yes. So let's drill into that more, because again, I believe the leader needs to take responsibility for creating psychological safety. What are some ways that we do that? We are more transparent with our team about our real life. This is one on the very edge, Lisa, because we have tended to compartmentalize. We're at work, so it's only going to be about work.
Yes.
Whereas what we can do is say, hey, gang, let me just admit to you, I'm not going to be my best today. I apologize. There's some things happening with my daughter. I'm making this up right now, but
Yes,
imagine,
right.
and probably every other minute, my thoughts are going to what's going on with her.
Yes.
So, hey, I'm not asking for you to solve any of those problems. I'm just admitting that that's going on in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Please forgive me if I'm not as engaged as would be best. People only respond with grace to that. They don't judge and
Absolutely.
say, well, you shouldn't have had a daughter. No one
Right.
says that.
Right.
Okay, so there's stuff happening. And then if I'm a little, in fact, I remember a great example where this was in a board meeting, and one of the persons shared that his daughter was going through a divorce, and it was ruining her. It was the worst thing that she's experienced. And
Painful.
by as a dad, he said, therefore, it's the worst thing for me. Later in the meeting, he was a bit owly. You know, he would snap at people, and but everyone in the room was fine because they realized he was snapping because of something else happening in his life.
Yes.
It's nothing to do with the person who's sitting across the table. And it wouldn't have been like that if he hadn't have been open at the beginning of our meeting. They would have thought, why is he so angry and think that his idea is the only idea that matters? Why is he so argumentative? I've got good ideas too. No, it's not even about that.
They knew immediately that
Right.
it was not, that he had something else
Yeah.
going on. And so just, admitting those things and being transparent about it, I think
Yeah.
that'd be a
So
beautiful way
do
to
that.
be.
Do that. Admit
Mhm.
mistakes. Ask for help. Apologize. These are the kinds of simple actions that transform how people experience the group, hopefully the team. And it starts to feel like, oh, you admit mistakes? I have mistakes. I make mistakes too. Oh, you need help? Really? It's okay to need help? You're not supposed to be able to do everything? Now we've got safety. Now a person can share, hey, gang, here we are. We are 4 weeks into our 10-week push, and I feel like I'm already behind in my department. Here's what's happening. I don't know what to do about it. What that is saying is, does anyone in the room know what I could do? Could you help
Yes.
me? And when we start to lean in and assist one another, now we're starting to function like a team rather than a group that's all coming around the leader to report.
Yeah. That's so good, Jim. Oh my goodness. So good. So good. Well, let's talk about this. Let's pivot a little bit. You made
Sure.
a decision early on in your career to prioritize your family. You have
Yes.
5 adult children, I think at least 7 grandchildren, at least, maybe
And
more
the eighth
now.
one is coming in a couple
Oh,
more months. Yeah.
congratulations. That's awesome. What really shaped that decision for you?
So I had years and years ago, I was part of something called the Enjoy Life Club. Every month, we would get a tape from John Maxwell, and he would do a leadership lesson with his team, and we'd listen in, so to speak. And he had shared early in his career that he interviewed pastors to learn how to be a great pastor. And I thought, what a brilliant idea. So I started to interview, and this is in my early 20s,
Mm-hmm.
interview CEOs that I looked up to and thought, oh, I would like to be a successful CEO like this person. A very unexpected and uncomfortable discovery was made early, like probably 8 interviews in. I noticed this pattern that all of these successful CEOs had failed marriages and disenfranchised families.
Mm-hmm.
And it struck my soul. It's
Yeah.
like, oh my goodness, I want to be successful like that, but I want the bigger package. I want to be successful at home. It meant that I had to take a different path.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't be all in on whatever the business requires. Indeed, I was all in on what the family requires. And I'm so thankful that I love my kids. I love the lives that we share together. I'm glad that I don't have a lot of regret about how my 30 years of career had unfolded.
Right. Well, there's so much that reminds me of, Jim. What is it if you win the world and lose your own soul? I'm thinking Randy Gravett, winning at home, Corey Carlson. There's a lot that say
Yeah,
that, right? That what is it if you gain all of this, but then you lose your family?
right.
And so, but there's some intentional things that you have to do, though, right, to prioritize. You probably had to say no to a lot of things, Jim.
Yes. And I had to make investments that meant other things were not getting
Yeah,
investment.
right.
Like I would try to take the family with me on certain corporate events I was going to. I remember years ago, my goodness, this is probably 20 years ago, and we all flew to Minneapolis and then drove up to a lake resort in Minnesota, and I was working at a leadership event, but my whole family was with me, and they experienced the living on the lake resort sort of feel for that week. And I don't think I had any money left over from all that they paid me. It was like for nothing, so to speak,
Right.
except it wasn't. It was forever, actually, because my kids still laugh and talk about
That experience and
being
how much
on the
fun.
boat, on the lake, and doing
Yes.
things that they had never done before. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love that so much. I love that. Well, I know that you're a faith-filled man. How is
God
your
is the center of my life, for sure.
Amen. Amen. How do you what's faith meant to you? And I mean, how does it really inform leadership?
Well, you talked about how we could do a whole podcast
Yes.
on a different
Yeah.
topic. There's another whole
Yes.
podcast. Let me first say that faith is very personal. I don't mean in the sense of we shouldn't talk about it with others. I mean it better be very personal, not just something that's whatever cultural or generational.
Mhm.
You know that verse that talks about um, perfect love casts out
Cast out fear.
fear,
And mhm.
and the implication seems to be we shouldn't be fearing, or we are therefore lacking faith.
Mhm.
This is me being vulnerable with you, Lisa. There was a period in my life where I tried to tell myself I didn't fear anything because I'm faithful. And it was a lie to myself because
Mhm.
there was fear inside, and I wasn't actually giving that to God. I was cramping it down, like
Mhm.
stomping it down. And what I've personally had to learn to do is acknowledge there's a lot of times when I'm afraid. There's a lot of times when I'm in doubt. But thank you, Jesus, that you are my comforter, my savior, my companion. I'm going to admit this to you and invite you to direct me, sometimes to carry me, certainly to protect me. And I am thankful that I have a lot of hard-earned stories for myself of how God has met me in those
In those
times of
times.
yeah. So that's all inside. And, I try to share about this more and more with my wife and a couple of close friends, but it has to be inside first.
Mm-hmm.
We have to do the work. Faith is a personal journey. Then the bigger piece of now we are in a position of responsibility in leadership. Um, in a sense, that better scare us a bit. Uh, it better make us
Tremendous
desperate.
responsibility.
Yes. Therefore, Jesus, help me. Help me see what I don't naturally see. Help me catch what I've done and apologize quickly so that I am keeping short accounts. Help me see as big as you see so that the future of our company isn't capped by me and
Right.
my limited view. There's so many ways that our faith should inform and raise our leadership.
So good. I mean, Jim, what you're talking, how you're describing that right now, it is a personal relationship
Yes.
where you are just talking to Jesus about
Yeah.
these things, right? And inviting him in to every aspect of your life. So,
I'm just looking on and I don't see it right at my fingertip, but one of the disciplines in my life is journaling. And I have a book now, like many volumes, and I sit down with a blue pen and I start writing like I'm talking to God.
yeah.
And then I put down the blue pen and I pick up a red pen and I prayerfully say, God, I want you to speak to me. And it's a conversation, red and blue, where I am having this conversation. And it's so powerful for me, Lisa. This is when I have the deepest, hardest questions, I
Mm,
go to journaling because that's a discipline that I've found reliably helps me know what God is saying. Plus, I have a couple people in my life that periodically I take my journal to and I say, I want you to read through the last few months of points and just would you flag anything that seems like it's written in red, but that can't be God?
oh, well, I love that you write it in red because it's the red letters.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? It's the red letters. Oh, it is so beautiful. I'm so glad you brought up journaling because that's been really a huge practice for me as long as I can remember,
Yeah.
Jim. And it's just so helpful to get yeah, I'll write out my prayers just like you a
Right.
lot of times. And,
Yeah.
but the other piece of that, the other side of that is listening.
Mhm.
It's a relationship, and in a relationship, it's a dialogue, not a monologue.
Right.
So that is so good. Well, let me ask you this. What do you believe, Jim, is the something extra that every leader needs?
I think it's a love for people, and they don't teach this in MBA
No, they
programs.
don't.
I said earlier, leadership is about people. And if we love them and help them see what's best for them, then they will bring their best to our organizations and we will be effective and successful. But can we start with it being about the people as opposed to being about the bank account, for example?
hmm hmm That's so good. I could not agree more with you. I love love. I do. I love and it's a verb. It's not,
Yes,
it's a verb. We're to do love, right?
yes,
What is Bob Goff's Love Does?
yes,
His book
yes.
Love Does, right? So, oh my goodness. Well, Jim, thank you so much. I just know that your wisdom is going to help our listeners. Listeners, please go out and get The Imperfect CEO. Jim's book, The Imperfect Board Member, is also out there, and that was a bestseller.
Yeah,
Uh, so,
and interestingly, let me highlight that in September, the 20th anniversary edition, brand new version is coming out. I'm actually super excited about it. The publisher said, "Hey, we really need to refresh this. People love this book." Oh yeah, okay. But I got deep into it and had so many people from around the world that I've worked with over the 20 years speak into it. So this is a richer, very, very valuable update of the book. Yes.
Oh, good. I can already think of a few people I want to get that book for, Jim. So thank you so much again. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope to see you again real soon.
Thank you, Lisa.
Something Extra with Lisa Nichols is a Technology Partners production. Copyright Technology Partners, Inc., 2019. To learn more about this week's guest, check out the show notes at tpi.co/podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, consider leaving us a review. Thank you for listening to Something Extra.